Hello, my name is Joselynn Roberts, and I want to welcome you to my EDM 580 final project on infographics and inquiry. This video presentation highlights the impacts of infographics on information literacy trends within education and how this selected media can be utilized in inquiry-based learning. Now, there are many types of literacy that fall under the umbrella of information literacy. Today, I'd like to specifically discuss visual literacy with you. Visual literacy, according to Merriam-Webster, is the ability to recognize and understand ideas that are conveyed through images. For a more specific approach in this video, I'd like to highlight visual literacy within educational realm. From this perspective, visual literacy means to see, understand, analyze, and effectively communicate visually. Each step within this process becomes increasingly more difficult to achieve, which is why education professionals, like teachers and librarians, make such a concerted effort to cultivate these skills within their students. Visual literacy focuses on the learner's ability to carefully scrutinize visual creations with great curiosity and skepticism. It requires higher-level analytical skills and the ability to understand that the intended purpose of the visual creation from the author's perspective. Now that we understand the idea of visual literacy, let's dive deeper into my chosen medium, infographics. So what is an infographic? Well, according to Annette Lamb, who I'll be referring to throughout this presentation, Dr. Lamb and Dr. Larry Johnson say, an infographic is a graphic representation of information that helps users visualize the big picture of an idea that might otherwise be difficult to understand. Our class textbook, Create to Learn, describes infographics as eye-catching, engaging, and informative. Now, when it comes to trending, infographics have increased in popularity over time and are now a favored way to visually convey complex ideas in a less complicated format. This format of communication is on the rise, according to Google Trends. They show that the keyword infographic has increased in frequency and become more common after the year 2011. But don't let this start to fool you. I don't want you to think that this stat means that infographics are new. They are not. Their frequency of use has become a trend due to the internet, but the idea and purpose behind infographics has remained constant for some time now. So why are infographics so effective? Well, in regard to processing, humans read images as if they were experiences. We also see images as a collective unit all at once, rather than each line one by one like we do when reading. Lastly, people just find images easier to process in comparison to listening or reading. Due to the effectiveness of infographics, this medium has directly served as a catalyst for the evolution of visual literacy. As a result, infographics have sparked curiosity in the minds of people. That spark of curiosity brings us to the pedagogy of inquiry, inquiry-based learning, and how visual elements like infographics can be utilized in the various steps of the IBL process. Before exploring the utilization of infographics within inquiry, let's discuss the basics of inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning is a form of active learning that starts by posing questions, problems, or scenarios. This question can be a student or teacher-generated question depending on the grade level and rigor of the curriculum. The main level and goal of IBL is to activate students' curiosity. Children are innately curious creatures, and we as teachers can foster that curiosity through the use of IBL. There are 4 steps to inquiry-based learning: questioning, investigating, presenting, and reflecting. Infographics can serve as an invitation to inquiry for students at every age level, and they can easily be woven into IBL activities throughout the curriculum. Implementation of infographics in IBL consists of starting point as a unit or a project. So you can kickstart a theme or idea. They can be used as benchmarks in the research process. Students create simple infographics to serve as milestones. They can demonstrate their skills when it comes to summarizing and analyzing the information that they've collected, while teachers could conduct informal checks for understanding during those benchmarks. Infographics can be used in expository writing data. Common Core pushes for the integration of data into longer research and writing projects, so infographics could be a great way to demonstrate higher order thinking skills. They could serve as final projects, where teachers can assign infographic medium as a final project where students can design and integrate their learned material in a culminating way. They can be used for tools for collaboration. They can serve as collaborative projects that prove much easier than trying to type collectively or write a speech together. Or they can be used as a form of assessment. Infographics can serve as informal or formal assessments throughout the entire IBL process. Graphic inquiry is another important element when embedding infographics into the IBL process. Dr. Lamb states that graphic inquiry is the process of extracting information and presenting that information in visual formats. She reveals that students actually mature as information scientists when they employ the basic elements of inquiry, and that this improves their 21st century skills that are needed for the classroom, their personal life, and later on in the workplace too. Graphic inquiry can specifically improve their ability to make convincing arguments, evaluate information, solve problems, and make informed decisions. Overall, graphic inquiry benefits students tremendously. It improves overall student performance, reading comprehension for general and special education students, skills such as organizing, developing, seeing relationships, and categorizing concepts, and proficiency in cognitive learning theory, such as dual coding theory and schema theory and cognitive load theory. So in this section, we reviewed how infographics can be incorporated into inquiry-based learning and how students benefit from this method of learning. For the final portion of this project, I want to tie in the role of librarians and how infographics and inquiry can flourish within the library. One of the major topics discussed in our EDM 580 class was the importance of collaboration between the classroom teacher and the school librarian. I want to talk just a minute about synergy. Synergy is the interaction of elements that, when combined, produce a total effect that is greater than the sum of the individual elements. Dr. Lamb prioritizes this term within her research. She firmly believes that when infographics are connected with books and other library resources, synergy can occur in order to facilitate new ways of thinking. Personally, this term also perfectly sums up my feelings about teacher and librarian collaboration. When we work together, synergy can occur, which ultimately benefits our students. So in the classroom, librarians can play a vital role in helping teachers and students select, use, and create infographics for various projects across the curriculum. And when librarians are not supporting teachers with the implementation of infographics in the classroom, they can be building the inventory and increasing the utilization of infographics in their own library. As librarians, we could do this by enhancing physical and virtual collections. This would involve curating new books that incorporate infographics and increasing the virtual collection to include online magazines and websites that utilize those infographics. We could also market and promote. This could be done internally for the students in your school to promote certain books or reading genres, but this can also be done externally in an online component for your parents and the local community to see what's currently going on within your school library. Lastly, supplying how-to tutorials that include the basics of creating infographics, along with a running list of suggested production tools and software that are available in your library to create those infographics. I also wanted to include this great graphic from Dr. Lamb. It includes 7 key ideas for building visually rich environments within the library. I'll leave you a minute to look at it. I also included in my final submission document for this project. The last component of my project highlights a standard that applies to my work as a future librarian. The integration of infographics within inquiry-based learning aligns wonderfully with the AASL National School Library Standards. When inquiring in a formal education environment, students meet the first AASL standard, which is inquire, think critically, and gain knowledge. So 1.1.1 dictates to follow an inquiry-based process in seeking knowledge in curricular subjects and make real-world connection for using this process in the student's own life. I believe that this video has highlighted the alignment of my topic to this standard. Infographics and IBL are the building blocks for AASL's shared foundation of inquiry. It all starts with curiosity, and infographics serve as a perfect catalyst for curiosity in the minds of our students. Lastly, I'd like to talk about Dr. Lamb. Much of this research-based video was based on the findings of Dr. Annette Lamb. Dr. Lamb is a senior lecturer in the Department of Library and Information Science at IUPUI, which is a merger of Indiana University and Purdue University that's located in Indianapolis, Indiana. Before joining IUPUI, she was a professor of education, associate professor of educational technology, curriculum library director, school library media specialist, and a computer coordinator. She is actively engaged in teaching research and service related to digital collections, libraries, and educational technology. Her research interests include librarianship, digital collections, information inquiry, educational technology, and instructional design. As a result of these interests, I have found her research extremely helpful when creating my final project for this class. My reference list can be found in the submission document for my final project. And lastly, I'd just like to say thank you for viewing. This concludes my final project for EDM 580.